Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Sweden, but we're going to head a bit north for this review once again, and we're going to go back to a brewery that I first introduced you to in around 2016, and then very recently I reintroduced them to you here on the channel for the second time. So this is going to be review number 3 from these guys, and it's a style of beer that I really quite enjoy, but not one that you come across all that often. So very curious to see what this brewery's interpretation of it is. So for this review then, we are going to go to a little place called Gnesta, which is to the southwest of Stockholm in Södermanland on the east coast of Sweden. And we're going to have a look at my third beer from Den Bryggande Holländaren, the Brewing Dutchman, if you translate it into English. So this particular beer is called Black Like My Soul, apt for me because, you know, being Scottish, I am genetically an evil bastard. But for this one, it's a black IPA coming in at 5.3% ABV. And yeah, this is a style that I really enjoy, but as I say, you just don't see all that many of them these days. Although that said, I have seen a fair few of them here in Sweden over the last kind of maybe year or so through the local Småskaligt, and I've noticed there's a bit of a renaissance between that kind of style and also the Czech Tmavis and German Schwarzbiers. There's quite a few breweries brewing these for some reason at the moment, and I'm not sure why, but I'm not complaining because I do enjoy all of these styles of beer. But yeah, it seems that all the beers I've had from Den Bryggande Holländaren so far have been dark beers. There was the Empirical Stout, which was the very first one, and then the last one was called Chocolat, which was a chocolate stout, and now we've got a black IPA. So I think for the next one we either have to have a lager or an IPA. But yeah, very curious to see how this one turns out. This beer was released on the 1st of July 2020 as part of the Lokal Småskaligt assortment for July of 2020 in Systembolaget. So yeah, hopefully a nice beer, 5.3% black IPA, and we'll see how we get on. Probably my favourite example of the black IPA would be the Black Salts and Body Malts from Toul. I think that's an awesome example of the style. I think it's one of the best rated ones in the world, if I remember correctly, and I can definitely see why. I think the black IPA is a style that benefits from being imperial, but I have found some very nice examples of the lower alcohol ones. The imperial ones tend to be a little bit more caramelly and things like that, which I really do quite enjoy. But yeah, let's see how we get on with this one, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this beer. So as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that hopefully I can do in the future from Den Bryggande Holländaren. This is the third time I'm trying one of their beers, as I mentioned. There's all the usual social media down there as well. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Den Bryggande Holländaren then, on to my brewery notes. So as I've mentioned to you already, this brewery are based in a little place called Gnesta, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, in Södermanland to the southwest of Stockholm. It looks as if it's maybe an hour or so outside the city, maybe a little bit more, but this town is very small, only 5,500 people, and it was home to the Holmen Brewery from 1870 until the 1960s. So Den Bryggande Holländaren, or the Brewing Dutchman, as it's known, was founded in 2013 by husband and wife team Wilbert Duyvestein and Theresa McGovern. So these guys, obviously Wilbert, with a name like that, is from the Netherlands, and then Theresa is from America. They moved to Sweden a few years ago from Rotterdam in the Netherlands, and then Wilbert says that he wanted to combine the Dutch and Swedish brewing traditions, and this is why he called the brewery the Brewing Dutchman in Swedish, Den Bryggande Holländaren. So, Wilbert had been a home brewer for a long time, and he wanted to kind of follow his passion and turn professional, and so he did it. But initially he wanted to brew individual batches of 500 litres, but later he decided that he had to produce a small core range to get them into Systembolaget. So he did this, he produced 3 core beers, got them into Systembolaget I think around 2015-ish, something like that, and over the last few years this brewery have just kind of been gradually expanding their capacity, and they now produce some sour beers as well. well actually and do a little bit of barrel aging. They also offer brewing courses as well, which is pretty interesting. From what I remember, they do have a partnership with a little hotel in Gnesta as well, so you can go and do the brewing course and stay in the hotel that's not too far from the brewery. It's a really nice old traditional Swedish building from what I remember seeing of it. So yeah, maybe I can get up to the next time I'm in Stockholm, maybe I can go down to Gnesta and do that. There's quite a few places in that kind of Stockholm area that I do need to go and visit. There's a lot of good breweries there. I need to go and visit the guys at Nordic Kiwi. I need to go and visit the guys at Fjärilmarnas as well. The new Omnipollo brewery, you know, go out to Eskilstuna. There's a lot of stuff out there that I need to do. I've had a lot of invites from breweries in the Stockholm area and never managed to do it yet. So maybe I can get up there and interview Wilbert and Teresa at some point as well for a Meet the Brewery thing. That would be quite cool, because these guys are a brewery that I've known about for quite a while, but as I say, only done 3 reviews from them so far. But yeah, as I say, they've been expanding over the last few years, and as of July 2020, when I'm filming this review for you, they've produced 30 different types of beer. And there's a whole host of different styles. There's stouts in there, there's black IPAs, there's regular IPAs. I think there's a few Flanders Reds and things in there as well, and I would love to get a hold of some of those, but I don't think they're in Systembolaget as far as I can remember. I love a good Flanders Red, so maybe I need to see if I can sort something and try and get a hold of one of those, because it would be awesome to try a couple of their sour beers. But yeah, I'll see about for my next review getting a lager or an IPA or something like that. Definitely something from the lighter end of the spectrum next time from these guys, I think, because all 3 of the beers so far have been pretty dark. But yeah, a nice little brewery, this one, and I'm very curious to see what this has in store for us. That's all I can really tell you about Den Bryggande Holländaren for the moment. If you want to learn a little bit more, of course, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all of the different beers that they've done. So yeah, let's get on and actually have a taste of this one then. I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork before we open this up. You can see the bottle is sweating because it is pretty warm today. But yeah, you can see the artwork on this. It's like a combination of Tim Burton and South Park. It reminds me of one of like the Vamp Kids. I can't remember what season of South Park that was. But yeah, the Vamp Kids. And yeah, the Vamp Kids. It's almost got a little bit of like, that reminds me of Tiny Rebel Brewing over in Wales actually. So yeah, Tiny Rebel Brewing, the little thing there. So a little bit of Tim Burton, a little bit of the South Park Vamps and things in there. So it says on the back here, there you can see Den Bryggande Holländaren. There you can see Wilbert's fabulous hair and his glasses there. He's quite distinctive. And there you can see Den Bryggande Holländaren. So yeah, you can also see that's on the bottle cap too. I do like the bottle cap like that actually. So yeah, pretty cool I have to say. It actually reminds me of Remy from Beer Geek Holland. You know, it really reminds me of his thing. So yeah, there's a few Dutch guys doing beer tube videos now. So make sure you check out Thomas Opent. You've got Herman at Dutch Beer Geek, and then you've got Remy at Beer Geek Holland as well. So yeah, make sure you check out these guys. They've all got some really nice videos. I need to, when I go down there in October, I do need to make sure that I get a bottle of one of their beers to take to them. We need to see about that. But yeah, this one is the Black Like My Soul, a black IPA, 5.3%, nicely presented. This one, I think I paid like 30 or 35 crowns for this. So again, €3.50 roughly. And that's about £3 British, something like that. For those of you watching in the States, that's $3.50. I'm not sure how that translates into Australian or other ones, but just going from the aroma when I've opened this up, I do wonder, this smells very much like one of the kind of old school things that were called Cascadian Dark. There's a lovely fruitiness comes out of this one as you open it up, but it also smells a little bit orangey, so maybe there's some Amarillo in here, who knows. Ooh, I think this is going to be good. Yes, maybe this is a kind of classic black IPA with a bit of Simcoe and Amarillo in it actually, but maybe there's a good bit of Cascade, who knows. But yeah, as I say, this is a style that I really like. I think, you know, I always used to say that I felt that the Imperial ones were a bit better because, you know, they usually put a bit of caramel in those and sweeten them up a little bit. Because I always felt, you know, the black malt with the hops, the black malt could kind of compete with the bitterness of the beer, whereas I think if you just smoothened it out a little bit with caramel, it could work out quite nicely. But yeah, I do like how the how everything kind of I do like what the black IPAs generally. I found some really nice examples of lower alcohol ones more recently. So yeah, my kind of theory that I had about the black IPAs has kind of been proven wrong through experimentation, which is always what you want. Science is always refining itself. But yeah, this beer, if we shine the light through it, this one, it's not the haziest of black IPAs you're going to come across. If you put the light through this, you will get a bit of a Coca-Cola kind of coloured edge to it. You can see the head on this one was over a half finger, kind of a very light sort of fawny coloured one actually, a very light kind of fawn coloured, a very kind of light fawn coloured quality to it. There's one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of the head there, and you know, overall it does look pretty nice, I have to say. It looks exactly as you would expect from a black IPA, but as I say, not the haziest of black IPAs and murkiest that you're going to come across. But yeah, one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side there, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of that head, and that head is going to fade away to be a very thin foamy layer, but definitely a nice sort of black ebony rosewood colour, but a bit of a Coca-Cola, Pepsi Max kind of coloured edge to it. So yeah, let's take a closer look at the aroma then and see how we got on. Nothing particularly surprising about this beer in terms of its appearance. Yeah, this smells pretty nice actually. It's pretty much what you'd expect, to be honest. It's not doing anything surprising in terms of the style. So yeah, you get a nice little bit of a roasty black malt out of this one. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a bit of Carafa that's in this from Weirmann in Bamberg in Germany. There's just something very distinctive about that, because the Carafa malts, they always give you a bit of a kind of toasty bread crust, but also some nice smooth brown bread at the same time, and that's exactly what I'm getting out of this one. So yeah, good bit of a kind of brown bready quality to it, and then just a toasty, well-fired bread crust on the other end. So yeah, I do like how this I do like how that goes together in this one. It's a really nice aroma that comes out of this. Yeah, so yeah, there is a wee bit of a kind of brown sugary sweetness to this one, maybe a little touch of caramel, a little bit of a kind of McVitie's digestive biscuity sort of thing. But yeah, the backbone of the beer is that brown bread, almost like a kind of brown German rye bread, and then you get the more kind of toasty bread crusty notes out of it. It's not quite like a harsh, it's not like a harsh black malt, like a really well fired thing. It's just got a nice kind of toasty bread crusty sort of smoothness to it, and that works out very nice for the beer, I have to say. So yeah, I really like how this one, I really like how it goes together. Aroma there is very nice. Yeah, love it. But yeah, so the malty side of things has everything you'd expect. On the hoppy side of things, a little bit of earthiness coming out of this one. You've got some nice floral notes to the beer as well. It's got a wee touch of dankness, but not too much, and then some lighter kind of grassy qualities. And the fruity side of this beer, I think, is very nice too. There's something telling me in this one that it could be like a mix of Cascade and Chinook that comes out of this, because it's got a bit of that kind of grapefruity note to it, but at the same time it's got a few of the kind of berryish notes. It's got a little bit of a blackcurranty, blackberryish sort of thing to it. So yeah, it does have a wee bit of that kind of blackcurranty, blackberryish sort of thing, which is quite nice. I like that juiciness that it has. But yeah, the aroma coming out of this beer is very nice. Fruitiness is great. I've got a feeling, I want to say there is a bit of an orange in this. I wouldn't be surprised if there is a wee bit of a Simcoe or an Amarillo in there as well. So if I was guessing the hops on this one, which I often like to do, I think Cascade, maybe a bit of Chinook, potentially Simcoe, because Simcoe can do some really interesting stuff in black IPAs, and there's just a few things that from like alcoholic memory, if you like, that are kind of coming out and making me think there's Simcoe in there, because I've had other black IPAs that have had Simcoe in it, and I remember being very surprised at the properties it showed. But I think there's also a wee touch of an orangey quality to this as well. I think Amarillo's the least likely out of the four hops that I've mentioned there, in fairness. But there is a wee bit of a kind of oily, orangey quality. There's a wee bit, as I say, there's some blackcurranty, blackberry type notes in there. You've got a bit of the kind of darker grapefruit, but at the same time it's a wee bit juicy. And yeah, it's got a little bit of an almost kind of jammy sort of thing, a sort of jammy figgy quality to it as well, a little bit plummy almost. So yeah, I like how the aroma goes together in this one. It's got a very nice, aroma, I think, coming out of it. So take a little bit of time and enjoy that before you get stuck into it. But we're going to have a taste of this one now and see how we get on. So this one is the Black Like My Soul, a black IPA at 5.3% from the Bryggande Holländaren in Gnesta to the southwest of Stockholm. Let's get stuck in. Slange, skål. It's pretty nice. It's pretty straight up, this one. It's one that it's got everything you'd expect of the style. It's quite a solid, easy drinker. I'd say that in the it's a bit more malty leaning, I think, in the flavour than it is in the aroma. Definitely a bit more malty leaning in the flavour than you would expect going by the aroma. The aroma really is leaning towards the hoppy, juicy side of things, if you like. There's a hoppy, oily, fruity kind of things. But yeah, the overall picture of this beer, I think, is definitely more kind of malty. Yeah, I have to say I do like how this one goes together. I mean, the fruity side of this beer is I think really very nice. The fruity side of it definitely comes out a little bit more, but the malt base is kind of what I was expecting from the aroma. So yeah, let's try and break down what's going on here then. So with this beer, you can feel the sort of pale malty qualities. They just blanket the middle of your tongue. You know, the middle third of your tongue and the back third of your tongue. Towards the back third of your tongue, it definitely gets a little bit more roasty and toasty and drier, I think. But yeah, I like how that goes together. But yeah, it's pretty solid, that. It does get a bit drier the more and more you drink of it as well, in fairness. So yeah, on top of the pale malty qualities, you'll start to notice towards the back third of your tongue you do get some of the more roasty, toasty elements out of it, like that well-fired bread crust, but you also get a bit of the thicker kind of brown bready quality there. The beer actually does feel just a little bit thicker and more bready towards the back of the tongue, and then in the middle of the palate, in the middle third of the tongue, it's a wee bit lighter and you start to get the kind of complexities out of it. So yeah, roasty, toasty black malt. You get a wee bit of a kind of woody quality to it as well, which is quite nice. And yeah, as I say, you get the pale malt, then you get the brown bready qualities just on top of it. Then you almost get like a little bit of an island in the centre of your palate there. It's like a little wee island, a kind of blob sort of thing, and it's a little bit of a mixture of a kind of oily McVitie's digestive biscuit and a wee bit of a kind of Werther's Originally type flavour. More of a biscuity, grainy note though, I would say. But then if you go to the very centre of your palate, it is kind of like slightly sweet and caramelly, and as you move further out from that, it gets a little bit more Werther's Originally, and then more, and then a little bit more kind of biscuity beyond that. And that the kind of biscuity, grainy note that it has fits in well with the kind of bread crusty and brown bready things that are going on underneath. So yeah, it's definitely very sweet in the middle, and as you move further out from the centre of your palate, generally it gets a bit drier and more roasty and toasty, and that's kind of what you would expect from a black IPA, to be honest. You do expect it to be a bit more roasty and toasty around the edge, but I would say in terms of the malt base, they've got that nicely balanced. I do think that with this style, I don't like the ones that are just, you know, it's pale malt and black malt and that's it. I think you need to do more with a black IPA, and I think it's a bit of a waste, to be honest, to try and brew the style just on that. I think you've got to use something a bit more complex like Carafa, and use just a little bit of like biscuit malt or, you know, caramel or carapils or something like that in this, just to give you a wee bit of sweetness. And I'm pretty sure, going by the flavours, that's probably what Wilbur and Teresa have done with this. It does taste a little bit sweet, which is I like. I think you need a bit of sweetness in this beer. But yeah, I think this one does take a little bit of time to open up as well, to be honest with you, like a whiskey. But yeah, on the hoppy side of things then, in the back corners of the palate, there's a nice little bit of earthiness there. As you move further along the as you move further forward on this one, the earthiness does spread forward a little bit. It almost becomes a bit herbal then on the front corners of the palate. It's a little bit kind of floral and aromatic. Then around the very front curve of the palate, it's just a little bit lighter and more grassy, I think. So I like that about this one. But yeah, the fruitiness, I think, it's got quite a nice wet juiciness to it as well, which is good. I do like that about how this one kind of does its thing. So that's pretty nice, I have to say. Yeah, pretty solid in that light. But yeah, the fruity side of this beer is pretty interesting. So let's focus on that now. So as I always say, the fruity side of the beer comes out on that kind of front third of your tongue. You get the nice juicy fruity esters just rolling out of the beer on that front third of your palate, that little oily bubble. So yeah, it's quite nice, this one. If you go towards the back of that front third of your palate, you'll get some nice kind of, it's almost like kind of like plummy or raisiny or something like that. So I do wonder, maybe there is a bit of I'm pretty sure there's a bit of cascade in this. Wouldn't be surprised if there is. There's something telling me there might be a bit of like Northern Brew, or some of the fruity notes of this is reminding me of Doppelbox and things. It's quite, it actually feels quite wet and quite juicy, and it's sort of got a kind of figgy note to it almost, this one. So it's just thinking like Northern Brewer. Williamette, I think, would be the other one that's quite a good beer, a good hop to use in the black IPAs, because it can give you those things. There's also Eureka, is another kind of lesser known hop that will give you these berryish notes. Yeah, it's interesting. That could be a few things, as I say, but yeah, that wasn't from the aroma though. I was getting quite different things. So this one's making me think. On the fruity side of things, it's making me think. But yeah, if you go towards the back of it, it's got the back of the palate. It's got a little bit of a plummy kind of raisiny note to it. As you move further forward though, it becomes a little bit more. It definitely becomes a wee touch more. How would you say it does become a little touch more kind of fruity, and yeah, it definitely becomes a wee bit more kind of a little bit more juicy, if that makes sense. So yeah, definitely a bit of a kind of plummy note towards the back as you come further forward. You might get a wee hint of a darker grapefruit under there. I do suspect cascade in this, to be honest, the more that I drink of it. But yeah, as you come further forward, it gets a little bit more kind of figgy and juicy, if that makes sense. And as you reach the very kind of front tip of your palate, you've got blackcurrant and blackberry notes coming out of this one, which is really nice. Yeah, the very tip of your tongue, blackcurrant and blackberry, and that comes out further into the aftertaste. There is a wee touch of a kind of oily orangey citrus in there as well, so I am wondering about Amarillo in this one. I do wonder a little bit about that, but I don't know about Simcoe. There is something, just as I say, from memory, that makes me wonder if there's a wee bit of Simcoe in this, because Simcoe can give you some really interesting red fruity qualities, and there's a few things here, as I say, just from memory that make me think of that. So yeah, interesting kind of fruity blend on this one. So yeah, a little bit, as I say, look, almost wee touch plummy there as you come further forward. Maybe a little bit of grapefruit, some sort of figgy kind of notes coming out of it. Then a bit blackberry and blackcurrant, like on the front tip of the palate there. But just behind that, there's a wee sort of oily orangey. Pardon me, wee bit of an oily orangey bubble coming out of this one. Took a bit of that down the wrong way there. But yeah, the flavour of this is pretty nice. It's definitely a slightly more bready leaning black IPA in my mind, but it's got a wee touch of sweetness to it as well. So yeah, quite a smooth black IPA in my mind. But to be honest, this isn't black IPAs have never been a style that there's quite a bit of sediment in there, but yeah, black IPAs have never been a style that I would session. To me, I kind of view these in the same way that I would that I would like a stout or something like that. I don't session beers generally, but it's not a beer that I would have a few of. This is the sort of thing when you're making the transition from an IPA that you finish off on an imperial stout. This is what you have after you've had a West Coast IPA, big bitter bugger. You have one of these to kind of get you ready for the imperial stout. That's what I would say about the black IPAs. But I like this one. This is a slightly more bready leaning and more sessionable black IPA for those of you who can session them. But yeah, I do like how it goes together. It's a thumbs up from me. I think I've noticed that with the Bryggande Holländaren beers. They are quite bready. They've got a little bit of a kind of Czech sort of vibe about them, which is nice. So there's a few sort of Czech Tmavi type qualities with this, some of the breadiness and the maltose and things. That kind of brown bready base that the beer has reminds me a little bit of a checked Mavi, but yeah, nice beer. In terms of the mouthfeel, mid-bodied I would say, kind of bottom end of mid-bodied. Carbonation's very smooth. Mouthfeel does have a wee bit of wetness, like I say, but yeah, quite a smooth, but also quite clean mouthfeel. In terms of bitterness and stuff, I think we're talking about 50-ish IBUs with this beer. A little bit from the malty side of things, good little bit from the hops too, yeah, 50, maybe 60 IBUs at most. But yeah, in the malt base, very, very smooth, little touch of sweetness in there, a little bit of dryness later on. And you've got some nice kind of juicy, fruity qualities as well. So yeah, it's got everything you'd kind of expect from the style, but definitely one of the more kind of bready examples. And if you like a checked Mavi, perhaps this is basically like a slightly more hoppy version of a checked Mavi, to be honest with you. So yeah, thumbs up from me. I wouldn't hesitate to drink this again. I'd be interested to try it on tap and just see if it comes out a little bit sweeter or smoother or whatever, but I think it's a solid lower alcohol black IPA at 5.3%. Yeah, it's not one of the highest alcohol ones you're going to come across, but yeah, a nice drinkable black IPA in my mind, and you can't really ask for much more than that. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. This one is the Black Like My Soul, a black IPA at 5.3% from the Bryggande Holländaren in Gnesta to the southwest of Stockholm. I've enjoyed reviewing this beer for you, and I hope that you guys have enjoyed my take on it as well. As I said, next time from this brewery I want to try one of the lagers or one of the IPAs or paleos or something like that. So yeah, let's leave it at that then. Let's leave it at that for this one. I do hope that I can try one of their sour beers at some point as well, but I don't know about getting hold of one. But yeah, let's leave it as I said. Thank you again for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from the Bryggande Holländaren as well, and no doubt we will return to these guys at some point soon. The Black Like My Soul black IPA coming in at 5.3% from the Bryggande Holländaren in Gnesta, Södermanland here in Sweden. Slanja, skål, catch you guys very soon. Check out this brewery and have a go at this beer. Cheers.